we did very extensive research on our very, very tough topic, the Renaissance. Now, I was assigned to do fashion and music. I'm sorry. And sorry, give me a sec. Business. Hello. Hey, where are you? Okay, bye. Everyone. Bye. Sorry. As I was saying, I did very extensive research for fashion and music. At the Renaissance Fair, everyone was dressed up. Our own Chris Perez was dressed up as a wizard. I mean, how much more authentic can you get? Everywhere we looked, we could see women wearing the classic Renaissance outfits and men in the classic Renaissance outfits. We saw a group of Vikings. We saw pretty much everything you can imagine. We saw a really fat guy wearing like nothing but like a loincloth thing. And yeah, for music, the Renaissance Fair was filled with music. As you can see, we in this clip, we saw a lot of music that was really authentic and really nice to listen to. Thank you.
As you can see here, Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper painting displays Jesus himself and his 12 apostles at the Last Supper. One of da Vinci's most well-known paintings was Mona Lisa, and it's arguably the most famous painting in the world. The Mona Lisa was a privately commissioned work and was completed sometime between 1505 and 1507. Today the Mona Lisa hangs in the Louvre Museum in Paris, France. Michelangelo's Pietà was a sculpture of Mary holding the dead Jesus in her lap. The Pietà was finished in exactly 1 year. Another one of Michelangelo's works is David, which displays David from the story of David and Goliath flinging a sling at the giant. Pope Julius II requested that Michelangelo paint the Sistine Chapel ceiling. Julius was determined that Rome should be rebuilt to its former glory, and embarked on the vigorous campaign to get the job done. Now moving on to the Church during the Renaissance period. In the past, the Catholic Church has been an important part of the system, which was based on the alliances between lords and vassals, or the feudal system. During the Renaissance, however, the demands of society shifted and became based on money instead of alliances. The name of the church was also hurt by some church leaders that violated the biblical laws of which they were entrusted to uphold. The problems grew worse during the Great Schism, when rival popes competed for the control of the church. The final outcome of the church after the Western Schism, it became weaker. That said, I'm sorry for wasting your time.
During the Renaissance, there was a significant difference between the living styles of the poor and the wealthy. Boys only went to school until they were 10 years of age, and that was only if the family could afford it. Otherwise, they were sent to work as servants in a wealthy household until they could begin an apprenticeship at the age of 14. The lower classes were also malnourished and unhealthy and could not afford medical attention. They were significantly less healthy than the wealthy as a result of a limited variety of food that was low in nutritional value. The wealthy lived a much more lavish life than the poor. The wealthy typically lived in large houses and had many servants. They could afford to buy nutritional foods like meat, so they were healthy. Even when a person of wealth got sick, they did not die because they had the money to afford doctors and treatment. Although the wealthy still had to take jobs during the Renaissance, they were typically more prestigious jobs, such as a scholar or a doctor, as opposed to a common job like a welder or a builder. The discovery of the Americas by Columbus greatly affected the diet of the citizens of Europe during the Renaissance. The majority of the foods they ate were shipped over from the Americas. Conquistadors learned from the eating habits of the Native Americans. Large game birds were a new food item now widely available, so people were quite favorable of these birds, especially during feasts for special occasions. It was generally only nobility or the wealthy that could afford these large game birds. New foods in America also affected the menu of commoners as well. The type of food that reached the lower class was several kinds of vegetables. Some, like potatoes and corn, were pivotal in changing the commoner's diet. These two became major crops in Europe. Potatoes and corn were served with nearly every dish, and were sometimes made a main dish as well. Several fruits were another new kind of food, but they were considered a delicacy and eaten only for dessert.
During the Renaissance, the treatment of women was just a little bit worse than it is today, I guess. Women basically were just slabs of meat used to push out babies, and all they did was cook and clean, and they really didn't have much political say, and they certainly couldn't run for president, not that there was one. Can you not look my camera, dude?
John, I had no idea you were a feminist.
I know you may think this sounds sexist, but it is actually very historically accurate. And this is a historical documentary, so I'm going to keep talking about how inferior women were to men, because that is what history is all about. We actually acquired this very in-depth interview with a woman of the time period. Please enjoy. Thank you.
12 baddies, and they're washing and they're cooking.
Yay.
And they scrub my toes.
Get your foot off the well.
Oh, yes, sir. Ma'am.
Sir! Yay.
Really good for
Basically
flesh.
bearing the children, cooking the meals, scrubbing the floors, washing
Stirring the
the laundry.
soup.
All the really fun
It's like a big bowl of soup right now. I just keep stirring it.
Yay.
I have
Pretty
to
much
put it in the
everything you're supposed to do.
So pretty much.
Jousting was a very popular event during the Renaissance. Riders came from every age group in town to compete. Classes were based on skill level, and it was not uncommon for family members to ride against each other. The rider chose a title that represented their horse or the area they were from. The most common horses that were used were the Arabian and quarter horses, because of their speed and beauty. The objective was to ride at your opponent and use your lance to knock the other man off his horse. The lance was not allowed to touch the horse or any part of the knight's body except for the center of his chest or the shield he was carrying. Then, once a knight knocked over another knight, he received a point. How many points were needed to win would vary from event to event. During the Renaissance, many peasants were either living on the streets, eating scraps of food from trash cans, or in the shack starving to death. I would change how this issue was dealt with. Instead of letting peasants fend for themselves like many royalty did, I would make organizations that would help feed and shelter peasants. Examples of these organizations that are used in the world today are Habitats for Humanity, that would build homes and shelters for them, and Brothers Helpers, that would go out there and help feed them. This is one of the main issues that was a problem in the Renaissance, and this is how I would change it.
Michelangelo was born on March 6, 1475 in Caprice, Italy. Born to a family of moderate means in the banking business, Michelangelo became an apprentice to a painter before studying in the sculpture gardens of the powerful Medici family. What followed was a remarkable career as an artist in the Italian Renaissance, recognized in his own time for his artistic virtuosity. His works include the David and Pieta statues and the ceiling paintings of Rome's Sistine Chapel, including the Last Judgment. Although he always considered himself a Florentine, Michelangelo lived most of his life in Rome, where he died in 1564 at age 88. Born on April 15th, 1452, in Vinci, Italy, Leonardo da Vinci was concerned with the laws of science and nature, which greatly informed his work as a painter, sculptor, inventor, and draftsman. His ideas and body of work, which includes Virgin of the Rocks, The Last Supper, Leda and the Swan, and Mona Lisa, have influenced countless artists and made da Vinci a leading light of the Italian Renaissance. The Gutenberg press, with its wooden and ladder, metal, movable type printing, brought down the price of printed materials and made such materials available for the masses. It remained the standard until the 20th century. The Gutenberg printing press developed from the technology of the screw-type wine presses of the Rhine Valley. It was there in 1440 that Johannes Gutenberg created his printing press, a hand press in which ink was rolled over the raised surfaces of movable, hand-set block letters held within a wooden form, and the form was then pressed against a sheet of paper.